A power supply. Beating heart of every system, or perhaps Grim Reaper of your lovely GPU. Want to know more? Stay tuned.
I don't know why chick mentioned my name, but Devilman's trying to get attention.
Hi and welcome. I'm your host PC Enthusiast, and today I will help you learn to pick a right power supply for your needs. When it comes to power supply, it is easy to get lost in the sea of power supplies, especially as a first-time builder, as there are just so many power supplies on the market. In order to protect yourself, these are the few things you need to know: wattage, 12-volt rail, power efficiency and certification, peak and continuous power, modular versus semi-modular versus non-modular. It's important to say that a power supply is often the most overlooked component of a PC build, and more often than not, new PC builders decide to chip out on it. And the only thing that goes through my head when I see someone with a $1,000 build use unbranded power supply they got from eBay is, wait, what are you doing? If you're building a single GPU rig and don't plan to SLI or crossfire, you will rarely need more than 500 watts. But in case you're a fan of overclocking and you're going with a high-end CPU and a GPU, such as Intel i7-7700K or GTA 1080 Ti, a 600 watt power supply will give you more breathing space. Now, the exception to this rule are dual GPUs, as they are basically factory-built SLI and crossfire configuration. Additionally, a power supply can be marked with continuous and peak wattage. The main difference is that in continuous power supply, if it say that the max output is 500 watts, you are guaranteed that you will have 500 watts ready for your system to use. On the other hand, if a peak power supply say you have 500 watt, that means you can have a period of time with 500 watt and then it can drop to less, for example 425 watts. But to emphasize, it can be in middle of the gaming, homework, important job project, and your PC draws 500 watts and your power supply failed to deliver, then your PC will shut down and all your work is lost. So if your power supply is marked with continuous wattage, then that's okay. If it's marked with continuous and peak, it's also fine, but if there is only information about peak wattage, stay away from that power supply. Then you will see information about 12-volt rail. Power supply can have single or multi 12-volt rails, and the key difference is that in a single rail, all connectors in your wires come from a single power output. On the other hand, a multi-rail power supply will have 2, 4 or more power outputs, where one rail will give power to your CPU, the other maybe to PCI Express, etc. But what is the real difference? A multi-rail power supply in the past often had inadequate amount of power being delivered on a single 12-volt rail, and as a result it could have led to shutdown when your GPU demanded more power than a rail powering it could deliver. In a single 12-volt rail power supply, amount of power is consistent, so all the components you have will have all the power they need at all the times. But of course, there is a downside to single rail power supplies. If something goes wrong and the short circuit protection fail, your hour current protection needs to shut down your PC. If a single 12-volt rail is of very high capacity, amount of current can melt down power supply before overcurrent protection step in. This will kill your power supply, but your power supply can decide that it doesn't want to go alone and it can take other components with it. Very rarely, power supply can catch fire. 12-volt rail is used to feed the two most power-hungry components, namely CPU and GPU. You want your 12-volt rail to deliver 24 amps of power to your GPU for optimal performance. If you're using a low-end GPU like GTX 1050 or RX 560, you can get away with 18 amps of power, but that's a bare minimum. On the other hand, if you have SLI or crossfire configuration, you need 34 amps delivered on 12-volt rail. Also keep in mind that in a multi-rail power supply, total output of amps will not always stack, so you can have two 18 amps 12-volt rail for a total output of 30 amps. Then there is efficiency certification, most notably bronze, gold, platinum, etc. What does this stand for is how much power drawn from your wall will actually be used by your computer. The thing is, Portion of the power drawn from the wall is lost when alternating current is transformed into direct current. The higher power supply efficiency, the less power is lost in transition and smaller your electricity will be. This actually has nothing to do with the actual quality and safety of the power supply, but more often than not, the more expensive power supply will have better built materials, higher quality, and also higher efficiency. Do you need your power supply to be certified? Preferably. Does it must be platinum or titanium? No. A good 80 plus bronze will be sufficient. As today we have modular, semi-modular and non-modular power supplies. The only difference is the fact that cables coming from your power supply are either removable or not removable. There is nothing magical about it. If you have closed case and don't care so much about unneeded wires being all over the place, then sure, go for non-modular power supply. Modular power supply as well as semi-modular power supply offer you option for cable management, with the fact that you simply don't have cables that you don't need. Semi-modular power supply usually have 24-pin cable, CPU cable and one GPU cable on it that can't be removed. All in all, best way to check if your power supply is of good or bad quality is to go to sites like johnnyguru.com and look for reviews of power supply you're looking after. That's all about important parts new builder needs to know. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe and see you next time.
I don't know why chick mention my name, but devil man's trying to get attention again. Told you before.